As you said, J.D. Vance and Tim Walz are new on the national stage. J.D. Vance has only been a senator for a few years. Minnesota Governor Walz hasn't made national attention until the past 3 months, really. So, as we know, historically, vice presidential debates don't really matter. It's more about giving the nation a taste of who is this person, who's the number two on this ticket. But as we saw 3 months ago, when Biden dropped out of the race, the vice president became a lot more important because in 48 hours, Harris was essentially the presumptive Democratic nominee. So how important is tonight in your opinion?
I do think it'll be important, and I think maybe more important than it is traditionally. This is going to be a tight race already. We know those margins are very slim. Every little bit counts. Every coalition that's being targeted, every vote matters. And yes, I think that people are going to be tuning in. I mean, when we look at the presidential debate a few weeks ago, more people were tuning into that than they had for Monday Night Football, right? And so I think that this is an election where people are very intrigued by what's happening, especially, given the 2 assassination attempts of Trump. That Vice President Harris was essentially brought to the center stage a couple of months ago when Biden decided not to drop out and suspend his campaign. So I think people are going to be tuning in more so than normal. And you have to keep in mind right now, like with the hurricane from last week, North Carolina, a swing state, is very effective. How are we handling that response? When you see what's happening right now in the Middle East with Iran, like that's something that's going to sway voters probably too, who's going to be able to respond more strongly. So I think that every little bit counts and every inch matters here.
That's a really important point because as of right now, in those 7 key battleground states, Trump and Harris are neck and neck. So do you think anything can happen on that stage tonight to move the needle either way in those states?
That's a really good question. And it's October now, so we don't know what that October surprise may be at this point. But I think being able to hit home on some of those issues that really affect folks in those states. So like when you talk about Pennsylvania, they care about energy and like production, right? Like that's something that perhaps Republicans have the upper hand on, in my opinion, because we're all of the above energy, right? And in North Carolina, like I said, if North Carolinians don't think that the response has been quick enough and it's a Democrat administration, perhaps that could be more votes to Republicans. We don't know here. I think time will tell. And certainly after tonight, I think we'll be able to see what that polling looks like and what they decide to target.
When you think about memorable moments from the last VP debates, it's rarely to do with policy. Just thinking back to 2020, it was either the fly on Mike Pence's head or Vice President Kamala Harris saying, "Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking." So tonight, if you were advising J.D. Vance going in there, would you tell him to focus on policy, or would you say, "Hey, appear more likable, be someone that someone grabs a beer with"? What's more important here, or equal? Like put a percentage on it.
Right. I think they're both incredibly important. I think at this point, maybe 40 policy, 60 personality, which it should be the other way around, right? Or should be vastly more policy than personality. But at the end of the day, you can have the best policy in the world, and if you don't know how to talk about it, that's a problem. And I think that's the problem that he's encountering right now. So I think he needs to not lighten up, because this is a very serious situation, of course, but try to be his best self and put his best foot forward. He's supposedly an incredible orator, right? We have hillbilly elegy, so he's got to be careful, otherwise it'll be a hillbilly eulogy, and obviously he doesn't want that tonight.